The following is a transcript between Matías De Stefano, referred to as me, and his higher self, referred to as I am, originally produced on November 7th, 2020, under the constellation of Scorpio in the mental week, examining through the sacral chakra. Me. Many people often comment or ask me about topics that are heard in different media, such as conspiracies, hidden government plots, entities that control us, the matrix that dominates us, channels of speaking of the struggle, of the end, of the catastrophes, and on the other hand, scientific and historical discoveries or errors of interpretation, or about political conflicts, about the pandemic. And sometimes I don't know what to answer or how to really help. It's like each subject is a Pandora's box that incessantly opens more and more conflict, versions, interpretations, and sometimes I feel that living in this world is desperate. Things were similar when the information was far and few, right? Me. Yes, before there were few people who studied and researched, and their knowledge passed to a library and a university where some went and others trusted. There was a clarity and tranquility. Ignorance is the greatest comfort factor for the ignorant. Ignorance is the greatest freedom for the irresponsible person. Knowing implies responsibility in decision-making and action. The key to the calm of the towns is the scarcity of information. In the same way that when you need to find peace and calm in the face of so much distress, what you do is meditate, silence the mind, silence the thoughts, and leave them blank. Meditation is by emptying unnecessary data that you were processing without logic or practicality, helps you focus your energy and attention on a single point, and from there it frees you from pressure. Therefore, biologically, the masses choose to be ignorant for comfort and peace. Me. It's almost contradictory to what we might think. Think about it. Before there were wars, the conflicts were clear. Food, security, housing. These three cross culture, education, politics, economy, religion. The focus was clear. The problems were local and affected the specific community where everyone shared the same race, ethnicity, culture, tradition, language, faith, ideology, and history. All this changed with the globalization and connectivity. Individuals went from being unknown in the masses and communities and became someone with a word who could access all information and also share it. There was no longer any linearity or hierarchy of information, and what we call networks began to be built. Me, the internet. Free press, free communication, free opinion. Do you know what the problem was? Me, education for sure. Exactly. In the 18th century, when the Industrial Revolution, the factories were created. The peasants moved to the cities, and the factories of the people had to be created. Schools. Skoli, which was a military-type institution of ancient Greece, where the Hellenic people were indoctrined in the following of the laws. Public schools would create indoctrinated workers, where instead of educating people, teaching data. Instead of educating to philosophize and reason, they were pressured to memorize information. This same system persists today. The educational institutions for the children of nobles, kings, they became universities, and only these had access. With the secularism of the Republic after the French and American Revolutions, the universities also opened up to the world, and still maintaining the schooly feel. Yes, from a simplistic humanity focused on three basic needs: food, security, and housing. During the last 10,000 years, in just a few decades, it became a humanity flooded with data and information that could not relate to daily life. For 250 years, the system was maintained, and in the last 50, the new technologies have made an abysmal leap, going from a simplistic humanity accustomed to receiving data to a nonconformist humanity with the possibility of downloading and uploading data to the networks of millions of individuals. In the last 10 years, more information has been shared than in the last 300,000 years between free individuals without intermediaries. That is, in all of human history. Me, only 10 years in an uneducated humanity, just teaching. I am. Downloading information is not the same as uploading it. There is a lot of responsibility in sharing what you know. Me. Yes, I always think that anything I say may be wrong, or I may be wrong, or I just might be misunderstood by others, because education is something of a lifetime. We always will be perfecting ourselves, and it is difficult to simply accept a fact that is real at first. It is a great crossroads. I am not bad, it's practice. But it takes many more years to know how to use what you have. Networks are being misused because the only thing that humans have done is to project their 3 basic needs into millions of data: to eat, to live, to be safe. Me. Yes, it's true, because everything that is discussed or talked about is related to these 3 concepts. Even if you talk about the matrix or being from another dimension, it is as if the data and information have become more complex, but the essence is the same. I am. Because without transcending the idea of security, the idea of housing, the idea of food, no matter what you talk about, it will all come back to the same. That is why today humanity eats information and never digests it. It is so much that it does not give time to process. Me. That's why there's so much confusion. I am. The more information, the more misinformation. Me. Why does this happen when it should be the other way around? I am. Confusion comes from the words with and fusion, which in turn comes from melt. That is, it refers to the mix of unification of many concepts. Perhaps all of them are true and real, but when mixed, they cease to be clear and their logic, origin, or truth is not understood. Imagine if you put different paints of the 7 colors of the rainbow in a jar of white paint and begin to gently mix it. You will see how the colors that you clearly interpreted before are becoming different things, and you can no longer interpret or identify their origin. While now, imagine that each individual on Earth has a color and that the network is a white jar. The greater the color, the more information. But if the information is driven from the unconscious, it will end up merging, ceasing to be the original that becomes distorted. Me. Humanity is probably experiencing one of the greatest periods of confusion, both external and internal. Well, I noticed that there is so much information in the media and on the internet, in the books, in the schools, in the social networks, that in those we channel in the researchers. We all have something to say. We all have this need to listen after a millennia of not listening. We left the state of comfort, and now we don't know how to find it again because we ourselves have become entangled in a computer trap. We can no longer tell what is real and what is not. We have reached a point where the time of greatest information in history is also the time of greatest ignorance. I am, because human was educated to think as a human being, but was taught to reason as a social person. They forget that the detail that is the human being is an emotional being that expresses, not a mental being that absorbs. For this reason, everything that is absorbed is translated into an emotional level of imbalance, the key to chaos and inner confusion. Me. How to solve this? I am. Confusion has a positive part to play in all of this. A human people in the need of answers will do anything to find the truth. We humans begin to notice and to produce different possible truths. The human being, to be overloaded with information, collapses and enters a period of confusion produced by the external world. He loses confidence in what he sees, reads, and hears, and decides to take the opposite path toward the interior. He closes his eyes and draws in himself. He hears his own inner voice. The confusion of the external world has confused the external world, collapsing it to the point where there is no option but to find truth in oneself. Because if I can no longer distinguish it from the outside, then only the inside will remain. Here begins the journey of the awakening consciousness. Me. But this can lead us down a complicated path as well. I am, of course, because the process has two faces, the unconscious and the conscious. The unconscious will choose ignorance in a way to escape confusion. Who is happier, the wise man who knows the truth and recognizes himself responsible for them, or the ignorant man who does not know the truth and denies what he is responsible for? Me, the ignorant. Well, he's found a comfort zone in ignorance. Furthermore, for the wise, the goal was never to be happy. I am very good. Therein lies the most important thing. The wise man does not care if he is happy, because happiness is a hormonal state needed by the body that seeks security. Me. Would you say that seeking happiness is a path of ignorance and unconsciousness? I am. Without a doubt it is. Well, part of the biological and cultural reaction, not spiritual or essential. The unconscious path, therefore, will seek to ignore what it hears outside and create its own story. And one of the best fits into the value and belief system, the conscious path will go inward to discover the void, and by doing so, it will open its eyes, and it will not take any truth as its own, nor will it invent its own version of the facts, but it will seek to, in all external truths, the tools capable of bringing its truth to practical and useful in the common, in all humanity, and in harmony with the planet. Me. In other words, from unconsciousness, confusion leads us to ignorance and the construction of our own history to which we cling due to the need for security. And from consciousness, confusion helps us find an inner path rich in harmonic solutions from the outside world. I am. In what way do you prefer to be confused? Me, consciously. I am. So whatever you hear from the world, don't take it personally. Nothing is personal. Well, nothing is really real. Not even what is. You can't rely on external truths, but you know they don't exist. You can only build based on common truths, those that seek harmony with the whole, and those that do not fight, but rather build. Take the moments of confusion as a warning from the mind that it is time to meditate, to go inside, to find balance. Confusion is your ally on the path of awakening. I am. I only know that I know nothing, said Socrates. And from there, he was able to share. Doubt is the key of all affirmation, not the other way around. It is the question that awakens the path to the answer. It is the confusion that invites us to seek clarity and order in a world of chaos. Make your weakness a strength, your shadow, your greatest beacon of light. Me. Confusion has nothing to do with Confucius, right? I am. If you talk about the word, no. Confucius is the Latinization of the name of the master and philosopher Kung Fu Tez from China, who left the foundations of a philosophical doctrine to find such harmony in times of chaos and confusion. His advice was helpful in bringing balance, that is, where you will notice, and only by nurturing the people with the right questions will you awaken the conscious answers that lie within. Me. The doubt, the question, is the Kabbalistic Judaism, as in the Greek education of the Agoras. It is the confusion of the external world that awakens and will find the answers to the internal world. I am. Contemplate the confusion of your world, and you will know the questions that you must ask yourself to find clarity. Quiet the mind. Don't think. Feel. Breathe in. Breathe out. Meditate. Recognize your environment. Recognize that everything is a perception building possible truths. And start building your own with the intention of harmony, where there is no polarity, duality, and struggle, but rather integration and pragmatism. Me. I see that for the spiritual world, it is very important to be pragmatic, that things be practical. Why? I am. Because practical comes from prasso in Greek, which means to finish what I started. Things that are not finished or repeated, like ideas that fly without being manifested. What you do not manifest, that is not useful and perceptible by the five senses, will not be useful for the spiritual world. Me. If it's not practical, it's not useful? I am. That's right. Therefore, do not take the chaos and confusion of the world's information and overload as a mental weakness, but as the will of a species to become aware without proper education. Teach, and you will have an obedient society. Educate, and you will have a conscious humanity. Me. I will look at my confusion with different eyes now. It is time to educate. I am, and for this you will have to leave the school and enter the soul.